my question to DOF, and this is really simple, why not do a continuous appropriation? We do have a way of making a commitment to sustained funding. You do a continuous appropriation of 258, let's say 258 million, that's what's in this budget. 5-year continuous appropriation of 258 million. Why not do continuous appropriation? Why isn't that before us today?
Eric Lee with the Department of Finance, and I'll turn this question over to my colleague in a moment. But again, just want to point out the fact that the $1 billion that was included in their May revision was really a multi-year effort, and the same with this $758 million over multiple years, 258 in budget year. In regards to a commitment, we have built in that $500 million. Obviously, things may change in the future, but the commitment is to fund and make those investments in the current year, as in early action, and budget year, as well as budget year and beyond.
Okay.
But I will.
It's not a commitment, though, unless it's a continuous appropriation, and right now it's not. So you can save $500 million, but there's no guarantee that that's going to happen. And that's my question. Why isn't it continuous appropriation? If this is a priority, why isn't it continuous appropriation?
Well, and I would say that the bulk of the ongoing commitments that we make in the budget are not continuous appropriations. They are built in our system, and that is generally the technical way of doing that. I defer to Stephen in regards to a continuous appropriation, but that is more unusual than having built-in funding per year.
Stephen Bentz with the Department of Finance. So the one thing I start with clarifying is the $258 million is actually a one-time increase. So the amount that's in CAL FIRE's base budget for fire prevention and resource management is $202.6 million. So the $202.6 million plus the $258 million results in about $460 million in the current budget for fire prevention and resource management activities. So that's what you have in this budget. And then in terms of a continuous appropriation, well, that's really a budget framework discussion. As Director Lee pointed out, our general approach is, we make commitments for a lot of these ongoing packages, and that's kind of how the technical system works. And a lot of it it's budget framework. We have a lot of one-time revenue, so we make one-time expenditure commitments with those.
No, it's not new, because SB 901 outlined a 5-year, $200 million a year at least out of cap and trade for wildfire prevention. And again, it's like, I'm used to it. You're befuddling things. Your base budget for CAL FIRE is not wildfire prevention. It's operating CAL FIRE to do a tremendous job that they do every year, fighting fires and protecting us, but that's not prevention, okay? The $258 million is what's in there for prevention, all right? And I'm just saying it should be a continuous appropriation. You guys aren't willing to do that. You could, but you're not willing to do that, which is troubling to people like me who don't want to have to fight every year to get money in this budget for prevention that needs to be just automatic, okay? That's my point. But let's get to the second question, which I think is more important. The NPR article that came out outlined how this job isn't getting done, even with the money that the administration that is being allocated by the legislature and supposed to be executed by the executive to get this work done. You touted how much acreage you were doing, 90,000 acres. Actually, it was only 11,000. So what is going to be along with this money, now that we're allocating $258 million, how are we going to ensure that the work that needs to get done actually is completed, and that we're not just touting numbers that aren't real?
So as a point of clarification, CAL FIRE's entire base budget is not fire suppression. It's not. There is a base budget that CAL FIRE has for fire prevention, and much of that is in recent years has been the $200 million that came from SB 901. But as noted earlier, $125 million of the SB 901 funding is not yet in this budget because the cap and trade plan is still getting finalized. So the $202.6 million that I cited includes about $75 million of that $200 million, but the rest of that is base budget in CAL FIRE's budget for fire prevention. In terms of work getting done, so my understanding is CAL FIRE, as CAL FIRE reports to us, the 90 million or the 90,000 acre number was the amount of acreage that was being protected by the 35 priority projects that were done. My understanding, again, as CAL FIRE reports to us, when you talk about fuel breaks, it's not uncommon both talk about in terms of acreage protected as well as acreage treated. So I think what you have there is two different numbers, that one is acreage treated, the other is acreage protected.
Well, you certainly were telling the public that you were doing a lot more than was actually done. And that's the point, is we want to ensure that there are teeth that, hey, if we're going to allocate money to something, that we want to make sure that it actually gets to the objective of treating the acres that you're talking about. And that's not even getting to where everybody agrees that we need to be doing 500,000 acres a year if we want to get on top of this problem. I believe it was Michael Wara was quoted in that from Stanford, who's one of the leading experts on this, that you need to be doing 500,000 acres, and you weren't even doing 90. So that's a problem. And I want to ensure that if we're going to allocate resources that we need to be doing, it also speaks to if we need to be doing more, then maybe we should do a continuous appropriation to make sure there's sustained funding for it. So I'll just end with that. I mean, it's very problematic to me that we don't have continuous appropriation ensuring a sustained funding source for wildfire prevention.